I'm just here to tell you that the game definitely has some broken frame generation or graphic settings or something like that, because some time back I was only getting 11 frames or 12 frames. Graphic settings. So now I'm getting 75, 76 frames, but just before I started the OBS, I was getting 125 frames per second. So I'm not sure what is broken here. I need to check what is broken exactly. So if you see, I think my frame generation is on. My OBS is on. That's why it's cutting down this to 70 FPS. And if you see on the right, like if you see, I can reduce the volume a little bit for myself. Too loud. So if you see, now I'm getting very clear frames, like very clarity is very much high. And you can see the ray tracing is on, HDR is on, DLSS is 17 by 1707. RS is off. I don't know what that is. RS is, I think, resolution, sticking to the resolution. So if I can just show you what is the basic, if I do right now, if I go and turn on ray tracing manually, see, I have full settings. It's completely on Supreme right now. And if I turn on ray tracing to full, I'll suddenly get 11 frames or something, or it might just crash. The game might just crash or something. So I got 3 frames. Now this is possible because of the OBS in the background. What if I just reduce the ray tracing a little bit? Tad bit more, okay? So when I turn on ray tracing, and now I just turned it off, so I was getting around 80 frames. Now I'm getting 40. So something's broken here. So I was getting 120 before OBS. After OBS started, I got 70. Now I did the RTS on, ray tracing fully on. I got 1 or 2, 3 frames per second. And then when I turn it off, I'm stuck to 40 frames per second. So what I do is go to video, reset completely, then go back down to performance metrics, turn it on. Now you can see 100 frames per second, right? What you can do is turn off the dynamic resolution, turn on frame generation. It doesn't make any difference actually, apart from the green line, apart from the red stroke, that red thing, and the green, like the speed. I don't know what the difference is basically. There's no difference. So if I turn it off and on, not much of difference. So there's no much of difference here. So what I did is, instead of native NAA, which you can see here, it's rendering at native, that is 2560 by 1440. Let me turn on capture cursor. Okay, so now you can see the cursor also. So you can see 2560 1440, 108 frames up here on the top. Now what I do is turn on DLSS scaling, and I'm getting 140 frames. Okay, so I'm getting 140. I was getting 140. Now I'm getting 100 or something. Very smooth, right? Super smooth gameplay. And it says RT is on HDR and it's rendering it auto. So what I do is I go down here and I change auto to quality. It doesn't really make any difference here, I think. So the auto and quality is the same. And balanced becomes 1200. Okay. And DL again becomes full, right? So I get full resolution, 80 frames, right? So I get full resolution with 80 frames. Now what I do is go to video, make it supreme. Okay, so make it supreme here. And I turn off motion blur. Not much of difference though. Now I am vegetation animation. Let's do this. Reduce and see what happens. Nothing really changes. So I increase the vegetation back to ultra, and now if I turn on ray tracing, I'm stuck with super low frames. What I do is just reduce the anti-strophic to a little low. I reduce the ray tracing 1 point. From 2 to 4 to 5 to 7. I turn off ray tracing. I'm back at 40. So when I turn on ray tracing and I turn off, I'm back at 40, not 100. So what I do, I reset again. First thing I turn on is ray tracing. Okay. And turn on performance. Turn on frame generation. Turn on I turn off DLSS. I keep the frame generation on, okay. And I turn on static, and I do this around 80. So basically I do this at 80, that is around 1440, okay? That's 1440p. Now I go to Supreme. Okay, let's see what happens. So basically if it's low I get 17 FPS. Supreme I get 10. So at Ultra I'm getting around 10. With everything on right now, except for this native TAA. Frame generation is on. What if I turn it off? Okay, so frame generation is turned off. I get 11. Little better. I turn on frame generation and I turn on DLSS. So now something's broken here. I'm unbalanced. Okay, that's why. When I come on quality, I become 1114. But previously, when I was on the same settings, if you notice now, everything is full. Something is broken here. So right now, I'm still getting 14 to 15, even though I'm getting around 18, 19, 20. Something's broken here because if you turn on things on off and on things in different order, you still get better frame rates. So there's some problem here now. Now if you see this game, I'm still able to play here. This is playable. Not much, but still little bit. So basically it's something to do with the ray tracing and frame generation, supporting, support frame generation. So if I do this at auto, it will be same, no result change, right? And what if I do frame generation off? Almost similar, right? So what I can do here is can continue playing the game, and I've showed you all the features. Ray tracing is fully on. If I turn off one of these ray tracing, let's say turn off sun, I get 16. If I turn off reflections, I get 20. If I turn off indirect illumination, okay, so there is a problem here with the reflections here. It didn't come back to 15 or 20. So if I'm going back to 1 now, see, there's a problem here with this ray tracing setting, the reflection part. So what I do is I reset the whole thing. I reset the whole thing. I turn on performance indicator. Okay, I turn on DLSS, frame generation, auto, and I turn on Supreme. Okay, so my frames are at around 80-85 with all best settings, right? Now what I do is I turn on RT, ray tracing, which is already on here, which is funny part. So I go to any of the reflections quality. Okay, I can do one thing, turn the reflections to medium. The illumination quality, I keep it the same. Distance rendering, I make it high. I don't need that much. Turn on ray tracing to full and turn off reflections. But if you notice in this order also, I'm not getting to play. So what I do is I change the order. Not this, sorry. I change the order of my settings the way I did previously. So what I do is go back to my performance indicator. First thing first, what do I do? Turn on ray tracing fully, turn off reflections, turn down reflections to medium. Okay, and okay, and then I go back to video. I turn Supreme. Turn this to Supreme. Go back down because right now it's playable. I'm on 20 FPS. Frame generation is off, so I turn that on. DLSS is off. It's on full resolution, so I turn it on. This doesn't make any sense. I mean, DLSS reduces here, then also the frames are the same. That's what is broken here. Now it'll go back to 1 to FPS. See, that's the problem here. So what I do is reset, apply, go to video, moments, where it says that you should take restart or something, I don't know. So what I do is I keep this, quit the game and restart, okay? And keep the OBS on and come back when, just let me restart the game. So I'm back in the game, and I continue the game from here. And now you see I'm back in the game with 60 FPS. I should have gone with 100. So I go back in the video. And what I do is it's all supreme, right? And if you see here 2560 and 2560, that means its dynamic resolution is on, although it says 100 here. So if I turn off dynamic resolution, it did not change, right? So it's basically going DLSS source, and DLSS is off right now. That's the fun part, DLSS is off. So what I do is, now I can't even change dynamic resolution, right? Scaling will be scaled based on frame rate target. So frame rate target is off. Okay, DLSS frame generation, turn it on, right? So something's broken here. When I turn on frame generation, I only get 40 FPS. In fact, when my frame generation was off, I was getting 80 FPS. Now I'm stuck stuck to 40 now. Stuck again. Okay, so I'm getting 60, 70 now, or 40 again, right? Okay, and the HDR seems to be off. What about the HDR? HDR is on, but so it's supreme here. I do reflections, I do medium, and turn on DLSS frame generation. Turn. Okay, now you can see. I'm gonna stop here now. Funny part is I was getting 100 or something, right? 60 I'm getting. You can see I was getting 100 up there. So now I don't know what to do. What else could I do? Okay, vertical sync. I think frame generation is off. Yeah, frame generation is off. I don't want to turn this on actually. So if I turn on frame generation, okay. Now frame generation is on. Does it show anywhere on the right FG on? I'm getting 60, 70, 80. Okay. Now, if you see the settings, I'm on 1440, and here it is 1707. Vertical sync is off. Brightness, everything is fine. HDR is on. You can see here HDR on. Somebody has reduced this to 5. Reduce the sharpening to 30. Motion blur I don't like, I can keep it off. Motion blur I can keep it low. Everything is full. Path tracing is off. Oh yeah, path tracing is off. The major culprit is off. Now, then I think it's stupid that I'm getting only 80 or 60. I should get 100. If path tracing is off, then I should have got 100 FPS. Why am I getting so low? It's the most weirdest settings in the game now. Okay, let's turn this on one by one to full. There, 2 FPS. Wow, brilliant, 1 FPS. Superb. That too on 1707. You can see that. It can definitely get better now. Okay, so let's see now. Options. Video. Okay, reset, right? Reset to default. Now we can go back to why am I getting only 100 now? I should get 150 or 120 or something. There's a big glitch in this game. First I was getting 100, 150, 120 without fail. So, is it stuck to... There's one setting in GeForce if you know that whisper mode, right? What I can do is turn off the whisper mode. Turn off the whisper mode. I just turned off low latency in settings, which was beneficial for Flight Simulator. So I'm getting the frames here. Turning on low latency on Flight Simulator was the best thing I did. Okay, so what I do is I turn on the whisper mode and I turn off the whisper mode, okay? Let's see what happens. First I will turn on the whisper mode and then I turn off. So when I turn on whisper mode, it will become around 80 FPS or 60 FPS. So turn on the whisper mode. Okay, whisper mode turning on. As soon as I keep fighting, then it becomes 19 or so. Okay, the whisper mode is on. Fan noise is reduced. FPS 60. Wow, the fans go down so nicely in whisper mode. So much peace. Legion's fans are very high, especially Legion 7 and 5. Okay, so the FPS has gone down. Now I turn off the whisper mode. Should go back to proper frames. Suddenly shoot up. frames. Spin mode is off now. Fans are back high. Now what I do is I turn off image overlay. I don't need that for now, right? So I turn off image overlay. I mean in-game overlay. If that has anything to do with the FPS. Nvidia. Now I'm on 100 FPS. RT on, HDR on, full resolution 1440p. Okay, go back to video and replacing. First thing I will do is do DLSS and do. Okay, now if you see, I'm getting 150 FPS. I was getting 150 here. Look. Now if I do frame generation on, funny, frame generation is not doubling the frames at all, it's just stuck to the same. Is frame generation stuck to the same? I think I figured this out before. I'm not getting why. I have figured it out before. Let me remember that. What did I do to turn on the frame generation? There was one small setting in Nvidia which turned on the frame generation, which was so go back to this and I say quality, okay? And frame generation on, and I do ray tracing on, okay? Able to play a little bit. 20 FPS. In Flight Simulator, there was one thing which I did where all these reds became green, which was turn on vertical sync and do the FPS limit to 50. That means do the limit to around 120. That is half of my resolution of my laptop. Half. So basically 240 or 120. 122. Okay. That was there. But then here in this game, If I turn off the frame generation, then only my vertical sync gets activated. Here, on, triple buffered, adaptive. Okay, so keep on adaptive or triple buffered. Okay, let's do triple buffered. Around 40 FPS. I do on. If I do supreme now, down the reflections a little bit, motion blur. Here, back again, I am getting around 15 frames, but all settings are full now. Can turn off the reflections here, which may increase. So basically, I can reverse this now. Reset again, and go to performance. Okay, then first thing I will turn on is this, then I will turn off this. Okay, so this on, off, on, and vegetation animation high, corrections, custom, and reflections to medium, vertical sync to triple buffered, FPS limit to 120. You see here now, everything full. Now only thing I need to turn on is frame generation. Okay, target FPS. I want to increase to 122. This order, okay, all the setting in this order. And now I turn on frame generation. Okay, everything died. Suddenly, everything went dead. The frame generation is not getting activated here. And it's not using DLSS or Nvidia Super. What I can do is, I don't want to touch frame generation at all. There's a problem here. It will not come back now. What I do is DLSS new generation quality. Then also everything is stuck. Okay, so in the same order I will repeat now. Repeat the whole order again. Performance metrics 1. Second thing what I did was ray tracing on, manually on. Okay, vegetation low. Okay, reflections low or off. For now I'm putting off. Motion blur off. Adaptive frame rate to 250. Triple buffered. Back. Let this get activated. Okay, and then going back to window. What I do is turn off vertical sync, so it becomes very low, right? Yeah, then again I'm going wrong, right? And now what if I do adaptive vertical sync? It's 40-50 FPS, okay. Now I don't turn on FG at all. I do this supreme graphics. Turn down the reflections, medium. And giving me around 18 FPS. Go back to video. Don't turn on FG. I don't turn on frame generation. And I do target FPS. And I do DLSS. Don't turn on frame generation. Almost unplayable or playable, I don't know. So what I do is vertical sync. I do on and I reduce this to half, 50%, that is 124. It's funny if I actually reduce to 24 and then I reduce and increase, it doesn't go back, it gets stuck to 24. It's the stupidest thing ever. It's stupid. not much of difference of sun shadows and reflections. There's a lot of difference. So I'm going to turn on FG and see what happens at 10. I'm already at the bottommost. What happens if I turn on FG? Dies, completely dies. If I turn off DLSS, it'll die more. Go to 1 and turn off FG. Okay, what if I have dynamic resolution on? Get FPS. I need at least 60. There's no chance I'm not getting anything. Let me figure this out and come back to you guys. There's a lot of combinations and I might have to open the config files. I might have to see where things are going wrong and why this frame generation is not turning on correctly. So I need to figure out a lot of technical things here. I figured out on Flight Simulator 2020 very nicely. I keep getting 200, 300 FPS. Actually, I've touched 700 FPS. So I can try it out here also. The same settings which I've done on Flight Simulator. The original resolution of this game was 1920. Yeah, one of the streamers actually is playing on 4K with everything on at 120 FPS. I don't understand how. I'm sure his RT is off. Ray tracing is off. If I do apply changes here, the frame rate does not increase. Nothing increases. Do dynamic off. I'm at such low resolution, still I'm getting only 11, 12 FPS. There's something definitely wrong in this settings. If I reset it, I'll get probably 150 now. Wow. Even if it reset, I'm not getting. Okay, it took a while, but it came back.